We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good.
Hello and welcome to La La Land on LA Talk Live. I'm Brett Chapin. Thanks for joining us on La La Land. This is the only nationally broadcast show by Los Angeles artists about Los Angeles artists on episode 150. Dorothy Dillingham Blue is not with us today. She opened her show at Theater Palisades last night, Ever After the musical, and she is taking a much-deserved day off until she has to go back for this evening's performance. Van Eric?
Yes. How are you doing? I almost forgot. I have to fill in when Dorothy's not around.
Yeah, you're the engineer, co-owner, and co-host today.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
So I spoke out of turn last week. I said that it was our 150th show, and then I went back and I individually counted each episode, and I realized that this is actually our 150th show.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's our what'd you call it, Michael? Our
Sesquicentennial.
Sesquicentennial.
Oh, you said it so well this time.
Thank you.
Yes. And we couldn't be more pleased with the guests that we have for our 150th show today. Joining us is Mr. Stephen Lee Morris of the LA Weekly, longtime LA Weekly theater critic.
Thank you.
And Michael Seal of the Theater of Boston Court, the executive director over there.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
And Deborah Behrens, longtime editor-in-chief of the LA Stage Times. Thank you.
Great to be here.
Thanks for being here.
Applause.
Ooh, I like it.
I love that.
Theater
To the
people.
audience. Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people in the LA theater community were very excited to find out about this interview with the three of you. So thank you for taking the time to join us on this very, very rainy Saturday. Although it's let up a little bit this afternoon.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking with Stephen, Michael, and Deborah about all things LA theater today, and also be speaking with Stephen and Michael about StageRaw.com, which is a theater project that they're going to tell you a little bit more about. I wanted to mention I'm doing something really fun tonight, Van Eric. Before we get into that, I'm going to see your friend of mine, Mr. Davis Gaines, in The Music Man at the Musical Theater West.
Cool.
Tonight.
That is so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it runs tonight and tomorrow, so get out there and see it. I know I'm giving people very short notice on it, but
That's all right.
yeah, go check it out. He's playing Harold Hill,
And then where is it at again?
it is at Musical Theater West,
West. And
down there in Long Beach.
In Long
actually.
Beach.
Yeah,
Okay.
your old stomping ground
Yeah,
there.
my own stopping ground.
Yeah,
I should go there tonight.
yeah.
Myself.
Check it out. I can't wait to see it.
I know.
Davis has been a co-host here. He's been a guest.
Wow.
He's kind of like the fill-in when Dorothy's not here.
Exactly. He's a great sport, full of energy.
Yeah,
And he's a little bit of a comedian when he wants
he's
to.
a funny guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Long time. I think he did Phantom of the Opera at the Schubert Theater here in LA for like 12 years, and real good guy. So
Yeah.
check out the Music Man if
Wow.
you get a chance tonight and tomorrow at 2.
Cool.
And I also wanted to mention Don't Dress for Dinner at Theater Palisades, opening April 4th. We're hard at week at rehearsals for that, or we're hard at work in rehearsals for that. And it looks to be a really great show. It's a funny comedy. It's a farce.
You are one of the hardest working guys in the theater business that I know personally. Before then, I always
Go
'cause-
on.
Yeah, I'm a sitcom type of guy. So when I be watching Friends, the guy Joey, you remind me a little bit of Joey. He gets out there and he gets parts, man. I could never do that. I'll be scared and when I'm going to eat and how I'm going to eat, and he just get out there,
I'll tell you, I'd like to have his bank account.
But you will.
Thank you, sir.
You will.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And we got the Oscar awards too. They're coming up on Sunday.
Sunday. Yeah. We supposed to be going to a nice little event for with the Children United in Beverly Hills tomorrow. So the radio station LA Talk Live is going to be supporting the Children's United Nations.
That's great.
Yeah.
Are you doing an Oscar party out there in Beverly Hills?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah. So
Yeah, they're closing down Hollywood Boulevard.
they closed it down for a whole week, didn't they?
Yeah, I think it's been closed down for a couple days. And
It's something though. But you got
Big
got
event.
some very colorful and beautiful guests here.
We always have the best looking guests
I know,
on the
man.
show, I tell you.
Can I say this maybe before you go into? He introduced me. What's the gentleman Pullman?
Bill Pullman.
Pullman, who was the president in Independence Day, and when
Right.
I put it on my Facebook that I had the pleasure of meeting him, I got so many likes like crazy. This guy here, man, I am very blessed to be sitting across the table with this man.
We're blessed to be here. We've been lucky on the show. We've had some high profile guests, especially in the last few months. Spike
Yeah.
Lee, Joe
Yeah, I
Beth
know.
Williams.
Yeah. I can cross that off my bucket list.
Yeah.
There
you
Spike
go.
Lee. Click.
Good
Yeah,
stuff.
Good stuff.
Oh, here, I thought you were going to say Joe Beth.
Oh, no.
And Joe Beth. She's on my bucket list.
Yeah, she's great.
She was
Love
wonderful.
Joe Beth.
A theater actress. I didn't even realize.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
And a big supporter of LA Theater Works
Yes.
as well. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, we have three amazing guests with us today.
Yes, we do.
Um,
we do.
So let's talk some LA theater, the three of you. We have three heavy hitters of Los Angeles theater who've been working very hard in LA theater over many, many years. And there's a lot going on in LA theater. A lot of changes are happening right now. There have been some reviews that have been taken away in Los Angeles theater, and a lot of changes to the groundwork. For any one of the three of you, can you address some of the changes and speak maybe a little bit about some of the plans that are going on to improve LA theater a bit?
Start.
I know everybody's talk at once.
Why don't you start talking about
Stage times?
yeah stage time?
Okay, well, I guess I'll lead that off.
Okay.
Okay.
I want to. I mean, I can talk about the changes, but I want people to kind of hear it from your voice because I think that you have a better handle on it than I do.
Well, I think obviously the theater coverage has been dropping in the last few years, and if very recently, quite significantly. For example, our site, I was the editor-in-chief of LA Stage Times, which is part of the Los Angeles Stage Alliance, the arts journalism site, which had begun as LA Stage Magazine in 2001 and then went online in 2009. And that recently, due to budget cuts, was eliminated or put on hiatus, shall we say, at the end of January.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a huge outlet that on the top of, and Stephen can speak to this about the LA Weekly, reducing their coverage in terms of reviewers and not only his column, but other articles about theater, is a significant loss in terms of stories. And, we had Don Shirley's column and Julio Martinez's column, which have moved to other things now. Don has moved to
LA Observed.
LA Observed, and Julio is now with Arts in LA, which is Danny Margulies' site. She was former editor of Backstage.
And the LA Stage Times was really talking about what's going on inside Los Angeles theater. It wasn't necessarily doing reviews; it was doing stories
Right,
about.
because we were part of the Stage Alliance, so really our mandate was to support all theater. And so we were kind of, I used to say we used to call ourselves the NPR station because we would do the long form journalism that isn't done so much, so the 2,000 to 3,000 word pieces and
Yes.
a lot of backstory, a lot of profiles, a lot of photography, a lot of, we did first persons and we had columnists, and so it was kind of this thing that people could go to and know they would get an in-depth story with a lot of history, and so people who knew their theater could actually get everything they needed to know about that there, and that's where we still sort of held that ground. And that's a place that's really we don't see so much of anymore because of time constraints, because I think you and I have spoken in the past about the way people read stories, how long stories should be, and that kind of thing. So I think that's what's been changing, and that's also, and that void then becomes where Stephen's new site, Stage Raw, really I think comes into play.
Absolutely, and really, LA Stage Times and Bitter Lemons and hopefully us, we're really the only three entities in Los Angeles that are talking about what's going on the inside of LA theater.
Right.
And so taking LA Stage Times away is taking away a huge chunk of that. And I was very disappointed to see it go.
Well, thank you, Brett. And I'm also very proud of the fact that we also in the last 2 years were able to be rewarded and nominated at the National Entertainment Journalism Awards from the LA Press Club and another one of their awards show. And so not only we were doing, and this is up against major media people, so it wasn't so for a nonprofit journalism site to be able to compete in journalism itself in a broader scope and not just be this boutique sort of niched arena was also very gratifying to know that we were reaching that and that other people were rewarding what we were trying to do. And plus, small theater coverage in this town, because of the 99-seat plan, we have so much of it to get small theaters to get any kind of really in-depth coverage. And the reaction after we've been taken down is, actually the site's still up, I have to say. It's still, and it will be up in continuum for people to access their stories, is that a lot of those people would never get a story. And we treated it the same as if we were interviewing somebody at the Geffen or some like Joe Beth Williams or a celebrity person. Mm-hmm. The regular person who's doing a show at the Matrix, whatever, we treated and sent real people to go and interview them, which again doesn't happen anymore. We were still doing one-on-one interviews, real, first-person stuff. And so that again doesn't exist so much anymore. And that's what some of the reaction as the sites stopped, that people said, I really felt like you treated us like everybody else, and that who's going to talk to us now about that?
Right. Comes in Stephen coming in with a solution to arts reviews kind of going away. StageRaw.com. Can you tell us a little bit about Stage Raw, Stephen?
Sure. It's initially a reaction to the cutbacks at the Weekly, which went from 7 or 8 reviews a week down to 2, and then my column was reduced to bi-weekly from weekly. But there's really a larger picture going on. There's 2 crises going on and affecting the theaters as well as the press, and they're running on parallel courses, and we're hoping Stage Raw is addressing this together. Mm-hmm. One is the decimation, I think for lack of a better word, of coverage of the arts, and the other is this has been documented by the NEA that there is a decline also in the number of people who are watching live performance passively. A lot of people are making art. Mm-hmm. Right. A lot of people are engaged in art, but they're not. There's less than ever. Fewer people than ever before are inclined to sit back in theaters and watch passively while they're presented something, presented a live event. So this is both a. It sounds hyperbolic, but it's a kind of cultural revolution, and it's almost equivalent of the times when the printing press was invented and what that did back in the 1500s. We're living through the same kind of tectonic shift, where by revolution it means that the institutions that we hold sacrosanct are disappearing so quickly before anything can really come up to replace them. And even if you're going to use that word revolution, it means that even the revolutionaries don't even know what's coming next. What we'll have is a series of experiments. You have Colin over at Bitter Lemons. You have Danny's wonderful site. And stage happenings, and people are trying in various ways to fill in the gap to see what are we going to do, how are we going to really engage and support arts in the 21st century, what are the technologies. So the plan for Stage Raw is to be not just a review site, but a working laboratory that addresses the issue of arts journalism itself. We would like to bring in people in their 20s and their 30s and to contribute visually as well as with the written word, and we will moderate that discussion of the old school journalism that reveres critics and authority with the citizen journalists, and we'll go, okay, what are the benefits and the costs of each? We're trying to have a heavy visual component. We'd like to go in, for instance, to established theaters and do documentaries on them to help restore LA's, I think, what you call it, a lost sense of place in the arts.
Oh, wow.
We'd like to do some live streaming. Howl Around is a source of great inspiration in terms of their ability to do a playwriting festival in Baltimore and live stream that all over the country. We'd like to establish partnerships here and abroad with other cities. So we really have to be, to use that cliche, thinking globally. But I mean that in a literal way. We have to partner with people in London, in Brazil, if we can, and to see how their programming and what they do in those cities affects what we're doing, so we can have a larger conversation. I think our crisis is that we're all in little bubbles. Mm-hmm. And we want to somehow do what we can to redress that. And again, it's an experiment.
I love that idea of doing documentaries on theaters. There's so many theaters in Los Angeles have so much history. That's an excellent idea. Mm-hmm. So I go on Stage Raw. Am I going to see reviews in addition to editorial columns?
You'll absolutely see reviews. That's the core of it right now.
Okay.
And it will remain a core, but not the core.
But I'll see editorial columns as well.
You'll see gossip column is in the works. You'll see humor piece. There's one parody of a ridiculous theater critic who always gets his facts wrong. We're beginning covering museums. We'll be covering. There's a wonderful new museum called the National Museum of Animals and Society, and they're open right now. They're a storefront museum on Melrose near Heliotrope, very around the corner from Sacred Fools Theater. Okay. And they have a display right now on chickens and our presumptions on chickens, and new ways of looking at it that's really enforced by research by scientists that says these animals are not what we think. So that's an area of interest. We'll be doing a story on them. So there will be a theater core, but we're really trying to look at the larger culture and how the theater reflects that, and how the culture itself is reflected by the theater.
Are you going to be getting into other art forms? You're going to do museums? Are you going to do, for example, music?
Yes, we hope to roll that out according to our ability to pay for it. Mm-hmm. So it'll be phase by phase. We would like to cover dance and music and the visual arts, and then perhaps even beyond. It's our quest for global domination.
Fantastic.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Exactly.
If people want to contribute, how could they help out if they want to?
It's not that difficult. You go to stageraw.com, and there are two buttons. One is for you to input your event listings, which we will be putting up when we do our hard launch towards the end of March, and the other is a donate button that goes straight through to the Pasadena Arts Council, which is our fiscal sponsor, and they will process that on our behalf, and we'd be grateful. We'd be grateful for anything you can do. Many people have already started. We can only launch because of the benevolence of individuals who feel the crisis and feel the need to do something about it, and we're deeply grateful to those people who have already chipped in.
That's wonderful. We're talking with Stephen Lee Morris, Michael Seal, and Deborah Behrens, all heavy hitters of Los Angeles theater. If you want to give us a call, if you have any questions for any of our three guests, make sure to call 323-473-3100, 323-473-3100. Is it right here? Is it? It's around there.
Yes, it is.
Awesome. Yeah. Make sure to give a call and join the conversation. Michael, how did you get involved with Stage Raw? Can you talk about your involvement?
How did I get involved? I was asked. I was told about what was the possibility coming up, and having such respect for Stephen's background and his passion for the LA theater community, which I share. I was originally asked, and was I actually just said this in a meeting yesterday. It's a lot like fundraising for a theater. If you don't ask, you can't get an answer, right?
Right.
So, because I know there's a lot of things going on out there within the whole journalism, the arts area, but I was asked, and I loved the whole concept, which you just heard about it being more than just reviews, it being really trying to look at what is the future of arts journalism, because we have to think of it that way. We can't. The old models aren't working, and we have to move forward. And in LA theater, as Deborah has said, there is still the same amount of theater going on. It's still right. being done, and there are just not enough outlets to get coverage because of financial issues. So asking people to step up and help support it in a financial way was what I could offer to this ongoing project. So I am already a I've already made my contribution, at least my first contribution. So I encourage everybody else to go to stageraw.com and do that as well. But it really, really speaks to me. I love social media. I am on Twitter frequently, Facebook, and that's
Huge
where.
on Twitter.
Yes, yeah, well, but I'm also, I enjoy getting links to these sites and I reading the columns that LA Stage Times has done in the background. Really helps give me a perspective of what's going on within our community. But it's also, I think what we need to talk more about is not just the people doing the art reading about the art. We have to continue to expand who our audiences are. And that's I'm pleased to be on the leadership council for the Theatrical Producers League, which is newly formed in Los Angeles.
Yes.
And that is an ongoing conversation that we're having, is how we expand our audiences and bring our audiences back in, and what our audiences are expecting. And having arts journalism outlets going away that can't help us then promote what we're doing and how we're actually trying to make a change to get people back in is not good. So all of these sites are fantastic in the way they are hopefully going to help us build audience as well.
Absolutely. And why do you think that is? Why do you think people seem to be straying away from theater a little bit, as opposed? Because for me, I would so much rather go see a show than go to a movie. But I think I'm in the minority. I think a lot of people just want the instant gratification. I just the interaction between the performers is something that you can't get in the film.
If we had the answer, we could figure that out right now. But I think there's so many
answers.
So many answers. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think.
Is it just
we've
a change in
talked about this before
times,
too. It's generationally we can speak to when through our education through the school we were brought and taught and taken to live performance, and there's lots of studies and lots of things through the Theater Communication Group and everyone else that talks about the change generationally and how people have taken and educated their youth to live performance. Yeah. And then again, the uptick of all the different kind of media that we have now and the ways people can experience things. There's not as many people who have gone and sat through a live performance, let alone going to LA Phil. And in fact, sometimes we had some conversations with young people said, well, you'll pay $60, $80, $400 to go to a live show downtown, or somebody, why won't you pay, especially in small theaters in LA, you could pay as low as $10 or $15. Why don't you go to that? Yeah. I don't know what that is. I know what I'm paying for when I go to see an act that I already have a relationship with. Oftentimes, they're not quite sure how they're supposed to dress. This comes up in conversation. How do I dress?
I've heard that.
What am I supposed to do? What is the social thing about it? And B, also, most people are used to going to the movies. They're used to taking food in. They're used to talking. And you see this often now with younger people, even older people sometimes now at the matinees. People don't know how they're supposed to sit and experience live performance, because we now have these big TVs in our house. We're allowed to bring in food everywhere because they're trying to keep things going. And there have been people said we should bring food into the theater. Oh my God! But
there are some theaters that allow that.
There are, yeah, to a degree. But do you want to have nachos being eaten behind you while we're watching?
Or a glass with ice in it that tumbled across the audience area during a scene last night at the play I was at. So there's those problems. Right. I will also say. We just closed an Octavio Solis play at the Theater Boston Court called Se Llama Cristina, which was a tough piece about parenting, drug abuse, and can you really lift yourself up out of where you come from. And in a preview, we have fortunate to have a relationship with Glendale Community College, and they have some classes that send people in to see shows there at Boston Court. And at a preview performance, a kid showed up, had his cousin with him, and you could tell the cousin was not happy to be there. And they went in, sat through the play, and after the play, they both came up and talked to me and wanted to meet the actors, because the guest of the student, who obviously didn't want to be there, had been so moved. He said, I didn't know this is what theater could be.
Interesting.
And he wanted to talk to the actors and talk to them about their experience. So, sometimes it's just a matter of being able to get them in.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But that's one of the most difficult parts, is getting them
It's
to
true.
cross the doorway.
And
right?
I remember having a conversation with Carrie Perloff from ACT in San Francisco ages ago when she was doing one of the shows at the Getty, one of the Greek plays, and she had talked to me about talking to her daughter, 20-something, well, what would get you into the theater? Here, her mother is, running one of the major institutions in our country, saying, well, I don't want to have to think ahead about what I'm doing. I want to be able to go last minute. I want to be able to go with my friends, and I don't want to pay very much. So, a lot of the models that theaters are based on, not small theaters, but, subscription based. So at the time, they did an experiment there at ACT. They actually created, I think, the second or third tier. I forget how many mezzanines there are there. And they called it it was open seating. Every seat was $10. And they had a happy hour thing. Drinks were hardly anything. And they ran that for a while. I noticed, though, when I went and looked at their site not that long ago, or maybe last year, that it's not there anymore. So I don't know where that went for a little bit or what, but that's a major institution. And the smaller ones we're talking about, not unlike people who go to Chicago, where there's a different geographic area where people are sort of used to going in and out of that culture. Again, we're very spread out. I think some of our statistics for the Ovation Awards last year, which are LA's version of the Tonys for people who don't know, is 400 or 500 small productions were in LA last year. Wasn't that the number? Something like that. So when you think about how many things to go to, and most of that small theater, there's a lot of opportunity, but past opening night, there's a lot of people who are struggling to keep butts in the seats to whether they're doing Gold Star or doing whatever else, and that raises a whole bunch of other issues.
Yes, it does. The
About
half-price
ticketing issues, which is we could go on forever, but
Yeah, I mean, they even have theaters that are doing pay what you can,
Yes.
and trying to get people in, and it seems difficult. I heard a statistic once that there's more, on a Friday or Saturday night, there's more shows going on per square mile in Los Angeles than in any other place in the country. That puts us ahead of New York.
it's true.
And yet there's less people coming in to see the shows. So it seems like a difficult problem. But
Yeah, Los Angeles is not a theater destination town as New York is.
is LA a theater town?
Yeah. Have you got time? I believe it is.
Stay away from that one.
But
Yes.
we won't get into that.
Well, can I say something? Because I live down the street from Theaters Row in Santa Monica and Vine and in that area. And I see people, especially the warmer months, they there. They do go to these shows, and it's like, okay, what show do I want to go to? Because you got so many in a row. So I don't.
They come out for the Fringe Festival every
Right.
summer out in that area, and,
Oh, okay.
and I mean, there's sites that you can go to, but I don't know if people necessarily know about LAStageAlliance.com. I don't know
Right.
if people know about
Okay.
Gold Star,
Oh, okay.
So it's a matter of I don't know. I think awareness.
Yeah. It's also about, you look at other types of entertainment, movies, concerts in major venues. Parking isn't an issue. They're more convenient to go to, which most of our theaters in Los Angeles don't have convenient parking. So you have to, you get it to a point where you're like, all right, am I going to go to a play and have to wander around and spend half an hour looking for parking on a side street somewhere? So it's also one of the things the Producers League is looking at is how we treat our audiences as well. It's not just about putting up the art. It's about how we make it comfortable and appealing for an audience to come in and even try seeing a live show.
Or if I could say how we treat our actors as well.
That's
There
another
was,
aspect. True.
One story after a show, I think it was at the Lounge Theater, where I ran into the actor after the show, and he said he had in order just to make his curtain, he had bribed a guy in a parking lot for $20 just so he could park his car and run down the street. He said, I won't be here long. I'll be like an hour and a half, and I'll be back. I'll take the car away, and that's how we got to park and made the curtain.
I
So-
think
you gotta do what you gotta do.
you and I were at
Wow.
that same show, that same performance, because there was a big event going on at Hollywood Forever Cemetery,
That's
I
right.
think, and
that's
so
there.
that was
Hollywood
right there.
Forever Cemetery.
Okay.
And parking, I parked, past Vine on the west side, like 8 blocks away myself. So yeah.
Well, I think we've all done that too. I mean, all of us will go to shows often, and every week, and to think, okay, they're going to this one. You mentally in your mind start to calculate How long is it going to get there? Is the parking on this? Are we
Right.
eating before? What's the deal? And your body will literally physically relax when you're thinking, okay, this is an easy one. Boom, and you're there. Other
Right.
ones you go, okay, all right. And it's not anybody's fault necessarily. It's just what part of the way you have to work that in as opposed to movie lots or big event type places. It's different.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know many
Bravo-
99-seat theaters with underground parking.
Right.
No.
No.
No. Boston Court does have a parking lot. I'm just saying.
Oh,
Mhm.
Yes,
Yes, it
just
does.
saying we have a
Theater
parking lot.
Palisades has
does.
a parking lot.
In
Yeah.
certain, in certain
We're very
neighborhoods
lucky.
at certain times, if you got a really hot neighborhood, or you're in Los Feliz or something, after a while, you circle around those blocks, you're going to the Skylight, or you can fill in a couple other neighborhoods and thinking, oh my God, really? And does not like, of course, our town doesn't have a lot of municipal transportation that
Right.
works. And I mean, I have been on it, but it doesn't really serve you to get to the place like you speak of some of these other cities that filter in. It's
Chicago, New York,
Yeah.
much easier.
much easier to do in that way.
Definitely. Well, I gotta say bravo to that actor for bribing the parking attendant to get in there, because you wouldn't see a film actor doing that to make his call time.
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
that just shows you the commitment
The
of
commitment
the
is
commitment.
Los Angeles theater actors.
And that actor was probably making $11.
Well,
so
I
he
was
lost-
told I
he lost
said
like
it'll
nine-
take
Yeah.
him like a week's worth of performances to pay off that parking.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Well, we mentioned the Ovation Awards, and there's really three major theater awards in Los Angeles. There's the LA Drama Critics Circle, the Ovation Awards, and of course the LA Weekly Theater Awards, which are coming up next. I think there's somebody in this room who is a Queen of the Angels Award recipient. I don't know. Oh, look, that's Deborah. She's getting a Queen of the Angels Award this year from the LA Weekly. And
I think that needs some applause.
yeah,
Yeah.
there we go.
There we go. Good. Yeah.
Stephen, can
Thank
you tell everyone about the LA Weekly Theater Awards this year?
The LA Weekly Theater Awards are being held at LA Exchange downtown. First time ever in that venue on Monday night, April 7th. The doors open at 6:30. Show starts at 7:30. And
And it's a
And
dress up kind
it's
of
a dress up.
thing,
Zombie
right?
Joe's Underground is hosting it,
Uh-huh.
and it's called The Death of Art and Its Resurrection. And so you can come as your favorite dead artist. Or actually, yeah, I think it was dead artist.
Yeah, that was it.
That was the
Some of us
premise.
are coming as the queen, though, but
Yeah. We have a living queen amidst all the dead artists.
there we go.
People want
So
to
it should
get
be
tickets to
great
that, they can go to LAweekly.com.
LAweekly.com. It'll crop right up. You
Excellent.
can go LAweekly.com/theater awards, I think is the way to.
LAweekly.com Theater Awards.
Yeah.
And I will
Great.
say it is one of the funnest shows. Even I'm associated with the Ovation Awards as on the Ovation Rules Committee, but
Yes.
the LA Weekly Awards is one big party,
Right.
and everybody who's anybody is there. And
I've heard some
the
stories.
conversations that I've had there have been fantastic. It is definitely a place to be seen.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
And I think anytime the theater community can get together, and that's why these award shows are so great, because, we talked about silos, and people tend to get in their own little world, and I was with the Stage Alliance, we always saw globally everything that's going on, and some of us can see that, but most people are kind of in their own, putting on their own shows, so to come to an evening, like Michael speaks of, be it Ovations or LA Weekly, which is really fun to get together and hang out and just have a good time and celebrate, and really celebrate this art form that everybody's so passionate about. I think is just a real joy.
Now, I do have one
Those are-
complaint about the LA Weekly Awards is Stephen always puts them on the same night as the national championship college basketball game.
We've asked them to change.
To change that. I have actually sat in bars across the street from that event to watch part of the game
You
before I
have?
go in, yes.
Well,
I'm a
that's why
huge
they have
college basketball
TiVo,
game.
and
No,
DVR.
no.
It's not really the
live
same.
game, yes.
Yeah.
Live, yes, exactly. But, that's all right.
Sorry, Michael.
That's
We,
all right.
we all apologize.
It's going to be a lot of fun this year, guys. LAweekly.com/theater awards. There was an article that came out a couple of weeks ago in the Los Angeles Times, and you mentioned Los Angeles Business Journal as well, speaking about Theater Row and how that area, that neighborhood has gone downhill a little bit. Do you think that that's part of the reason that people are trepidatious about going to theater is the safety issue? Do you think that has anything to do with it? Or what do you think about that situation? That area has a reputation for being a little rough.
Well, and that
Would-
reputation
would-
has come and gone and
Yeah.
come back again.
Right.
You know, it goes in streaks, and it's part of it is that there are also, you know, two theater companies right in that sort of stretch. Open Fist and Celebration have recently left their spaces because of the increase in their cost to be there, and they just could not afford that. So some of it is that the neighborhood, you know, is it that you bring in theater and you make the area more desirable, and then they want to raise the rent because they can get more rent because it is a desirable. I don't know.
They mentioned the marijuana shops that are
Right,
coming up. Might
everyone-
be part of the
Celebration
reason.
Theater is now
Marijuana.
Is it
medical,
really?
It's
a
a
medical
dispensary.
marijuana
Yeah, it is.
dispensary.
That's right. They mentioned that in the article.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But of course, that area right there actually has been gentrifying because they built. Well, they had the whole Target complex, but they built also this huge condo complex that's coming up, and so there's actually more patrols, and homeless have been sort of moved out, and so that one I always feel like that's sort of its own entity because Theater Row to me is actually sort of Highland. It's Highland East, really. You know, kind of more that when you hit the Hudson Guild Theater.
The blank,
The
second
blank,
stage, and,
complex. Then you go further down the Elephant. So between Highland and Vine,
right,
right,
and the lounge is just past Vine,
just past
on
that,
the east
right,
side of
and then
that,
the
yeah.
Cadden place, kind of, and up and down depending on that street and what's going on. But I think but theater historically has had some of those issues where it's New York or whatever. Sometimes the areas have been a little iffy, and you kind of.
You gotta remember that Theater Row came up in horrible times when that place was really dangerous. So,
Right.
and it didn't stop the birth of Theater Row.
No.
So I'm not sure. I think the larger issue is real estate values.
Yeah.
That's just really pounding at the arts communities.
I've walked around that area late at night. It's not that
No, and they have
dangerous.
the Honda dealership and
Yeah.
things in that. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, and
cut you off,
you
Stephen.
also have the issue of you know, is the art something somebody wants to see? Because I've produced the Celebration 20 years ago. I produced at the complex, and have had some successful and not successful shows. And so, when you do have a show that is successful, it
Very
doesn't
true.
matter what the area is. They will
Right.
come and
People
find
will
it.
go, no matter what. Because people could argue that's somewhat sacred fools when you go, you know, people freak out a little bit. You're going on the freeway,
'cause
you're
you're
going to
down
Heliotrope, you
into-
know, and
yeah.
there's certain areas and certain. And it's funny because even the Matrix on Melrose, you know, and some of these areas are pretty gentrified, but people have had cars broken in at certain times. There's these one-off kind of situations that's come from a lot of people just coming through and eating or doing whatever it is, and then you can say, oh, that neighborhood. Well, not necessarily. And it could be, you know, you should be always cautious where you are, true, but it doesn't stop you from going, or you're going up to the Fountain, you know, in that area. Normally people can talk about that a little bit. Oh, I only park in the lot because I don't want to park around, you know, the edges. But most of the time, I can't say that I've had any experiences after, you know, I go to 60, 70 shows a year at all these different places, and mostly, you know, it's fine. So.
I know there was one stage manager that was recently robbed in that area, and there've been they mentioned that in the Times article, and there've been little incidences, but I don't think it's anything like a Bronx or anything like that.
No, and I think to everybody who works late at a theater, no matter what neighborhood, and even when I'm leaving after
Sure.
whatever thing, I do
They
have
go
them
out in
say, I'll
groups,
have men
yeah.
say to me, let us walk you to your car. And even if you feel like, oh, it's only 2 blocks more parked on Magnolia, let's say, even North Hollywood, they will, let us walk you to your car. Because
You never
You
And
never
you should do
know.
that in
Yeah.
Beverly Hills too.
you can't,
Right.
yes, exactly. You know, it's not necessarily this, oh, you know, upscale places are all very good. There's all sorts of things. So
I mean, you'll
think-
find incidents in upscale areas like in Franklin Village, like where
Sure.
there's repeatedly muggings up there, at least once every couple of months. We hear a story, and those are, you know, high rent districts. So.
Yeah, and it can be random people driving through because even
Yeah.
like I'm kind of in the mid-Melrose area, and there were guys who were pulling up and accosting women who they thought had cell phones, especially after the holidays, and just sort of like, you know, and so it could be anything.
Yeah, because again, you know, me living in that area, and I travel around there a lot. I noticed around Santa Monica and Highland is where that kind of activity congregates. When you start going towards the car dealership and the Theaters Row, it thins out to a point where they know not to really expose themselves unless they happen to catch somebody walking off that strip. But if you stay on that strip, you're not going to be caught up in any type of violent acts
And I see police patrolling that area
Yeah,
all the time, too.
Yeah,
So-
all
I
the time.
think it's just
So
to be safe. You know,
yeah. But yeah, they know not to come out, and plus they, as a rapper used to say, the freaks come out at night. You know, they don't come out until like wee hours of the morning anyway, 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning. So
Yeah, the shows are done by 10. So
yeah,
everyone's
exactly.
safe.
So you normally you're safe. Like I said, and I live in that neighborhood, so.
Right.
Yeah. You mentioned the LA LA Business Journal article that I did not get a chance to read, but I know the three of you were involved with that story. Can you tell us what that story was about? And that was about Stage Raw, I'm assuming.
It was based on Stage Raw. It's evolution and how it came from, and it took a look at what are the chances of such things. It tried to assess what are the needs based on the diminished arts coverage. What are its possibilities? What's its financial model? And it interviewed Deborah.
I didn't know. I missed the call.
Sasha
Thank you,
Anawal.
Sasha and
Sasha
Anawal,
Anawal mentioned
Simon
Bitter
Levy.
Lemons.
Simon Levy was interviewed. Yeah.
And may I use this as a forum to redress one rumor that's going around? That is.
I was going to get to that, but you go right ahead. Yeah. Yes, please.
There is.
This is a question that we got from a couple of people when they found out that you were coming on the air.
Maybe you can help us put this to bed once and for all, because the rumor is that Stage Raw is either a membership organization, which it is not, or that you pay for play, that you get. Your donation buys you a review. Mm-hmm. That's just categorically untrue. I just want to say on the record and on the air that a donation or an ad is no guarantee of a review, and that a lack of donation or lack of ad will not exclude you from a review or any other kind of coverage on Stage Raw. Mm-hmm. We're using the model of a newspaper. There are ads, and we have a marketing department that is there's a firewall between the marketing department. There's a person who is handling the ads that is different from me. And the assigning of coverage is based on what I and my colleagues feel is worthy of being covered, not really to do with who was paid for what. So I just want that clear.
And that was one of my first questions when I was approached about it was, how is it going to be separated? Because I didn't want to be a part of something that wasn't going to separate the two, because I think it's important. It's just important to have the site there, and it's not about a pay-for-play sort of thing. So that really was a concern of mine, and it was addressed right off the bat, and so he speaks the truth.
Absolutely. I mean, doing something like this, like anything, it costs money. Of course, you're going to sell some ads. I mean, you're not going to pay for this entire thing out of your pocket.
Or donationsstageraw.com.
Yes.
Nicely timed.
Or donate.
Nicely timed.
Yes. So we always mention this and by the way, I should mention that you now hold the record for the most appearances on the show, Mr.
Really?
Steele.
Wow.
Yes,
You
have beat Colin Mitchell with 6.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
All
There
right.
we go. And for somebody who is not excited, I mean, I'm excited to be here, but I hate speaking in public. So I appreciate sitting. I do.
You're excellent at it. I don't know why.
I hate. I was actually just telling Stephen the other day that Jessica Kupczynski, the artistic director at Boston Court, before we start every production, I get coached by her for curtain speeches because it makes me nervous.
So well,
thank you. I think it's because they're so rehearsed. And then I do the first couple during previews, and I get notes.
Really?
I get notes from her, which is great. I appreciate it.
That is great.
Yeah.
I love what you say at Boston Court. Take a breath, lean in, and enjoy. Isn't that
yes.
it? Yeah.
I say this is where most theaters tell you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. But this is Boston Court. So instead, we invite you to come to the edge of your seat, lean in, and enjoy.
Very nicely
Yes.
rehearsed.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bravo.
Thank you. Yes.
Well done.
And that actually came from a conversation I was having in the lobby with a patron before the show, and we were talking about the type of theater Boston Court does, and they sort of said that, and as I was going down, and I had not rehearsed it, and as I was going down to do the curtain speech, and I got to the end of it, and I was like, let me try this, and sort of stuck. There is a journalist out there who rags on me every time he's in theater about it, but that's all right.
He's just jealous.
That's right. It's different. It sets you apart from all the
Critics.
others.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Who are those people?
Well, this being your sixth appearance on the show, I hope you're not tired of speaking about this subject, but I think it's an important one to address. The 99-seat plan in Los Angeles.
Yes.
Can you tell our audience a little bit about that and what you feel? We're a big proponent on the show that it could maybe use some revision. I know that I've gotten a lot of opportunities from it, but speak maybe about what it is and your opinions of it.
Right. So the just briefly, the 99-seat plan with Actors Equity is not an agreement. It is a way that union and non-union actors can work together on the smaller stages in Los Angeles County, because it just covers Los Angeles County, not outside of it. And it gives the actor a lot of freedom to be able to come and go during the course of rehearsals and performances if they get more remunerative, I think that's the word, remunerative work. So if they get a day or two on a show, they can take off and that without any repercussions on it. And it also provides safety issues for actors and a small stipend. It's basically helps pay for gas. You know,
$12 a show.
Yeah,
like that.
it varies depending on the ticket price and the size of the space, up to 99 seats. But it is under review right now, and I can't speak a lot about it in the review process going on right now. But the review committee that has existed since this agreement was set up, this plan was set up over 30 years ago, is again, they are meeting with the equity and trying to figure out ways to bring it up to date so it actually serves the community better and serves the actors better. So
will the Producers League be involved with that at all?
The Producers League are being consulted by the review committee because the review committee has the legal standing currently. But I think down the line that things can and will shift, so the Producers League will be more actively involved in future negotiations. But this one is actually happening again. But they are having conversations with us and discussing what it is that the Producers League feels can be changed or needs to be changed in the agreement. And who knows what will happen exactly with all of it down the line. But I think that it's a slow process, but I think that there is some interesting things happening that I think will serve everybody very well. So,
because it's been around since I think the early 80s. Is that right?
85, isn't it?
85,
early mid 80s. And you look at a city like Chicago or New York that doesn't have it, and their actors get paid a lot more. And so a lot of people have come on the show and said that it's hurt Los Angeles theater. It's hurt actors' bank accounts and things like that. I don't know if I would go that far, but I think it could definitely use some review and some changes because actors, I mean, we work hard. We deserve to get paid.
And I don't disagree at all. I have been in recent months. I've been approached by actors who have worked at venues in Los Angeles who say the conditions are not great. But I also turn to them and say, then you need to talk to your union and have those things fixed instead of just because I'm not the person that can fix that at this point.
Right.
The Producers League only can only deal with its members, and there are other theaters out there that aren't members currently that we hope will eventually step up to the plate and become members. But it's also we get back to the whole audience thing again because until we can continue to grow our audiences, the financial issues become ramifications in that issue as well. Equity doesn't make money on the 99-seat plan because they're not getting union dues out of it. We're not paying into those plans, so their staffing isn't able to look at everything that's going on all the time. Venues have not been reassessed or approved. They're sort of grandfathered in, and they've been sitting there for 30 years and deteriorating as a venue. And Equity just doesn't have the manpower to go in and say, no, you need to fix this, this, and this. And that may be part of what comes out of this is that they may turn to the Producers League and say, can you help us in getting the venues and the the accommodations and for the actors even backstage up to par and where they should be. So there's a lot of conversation happening, and I think it's all good. It's just a slow process, unfortunately.
That would be wonderful.
Right.
I mean, I hate to keep singling out Theater Row, but there are a lot of theaters, especially in that area, that are just they're uncomfortable for people to be in. You know, the seats
Right.
are hard, or you know, there's paint chipped off the walls, and I don't know.
Yeah.
There could be a lot that could be done.
One of my reasons for wanting to get a Producers League started, and why I'm actively involved, is several reasons, but one of them is about how we treat our audiences, because I think we are more concerned about the art we're doing, which is important, but we also have to make it a place that people want to see art in. So, you know, and the other issues I have with the Producers League is, you know, diversity and mentorship. We've got actors who come up through the ranks and then want to see a production done, and so they're going to produce themselves and have no idea what they're doing, which is also then a problem with where they're putting their plays and things like that. So, you know, we're hoping to create a mentorship program that will help bring up the next generation of arts administrators, arts managers. I've never been an actor. I've never been a performer, and I love doing what I do, and I hope there's other people out there who appreciate it as much as I do and want to do it just because they want to see those actors and that art come to life. So I get calls frequently by people, and I am happy to sit down for coffee with people and talk about how to put the art on the stage, as opposed to how to make the art for the artist. So
That's another thing that I think could use some improvement. There is a lack of good Los Angeles theater administrators.
yes,
You know,
yeah.
there's some very, very good ones out there,
Right.
but there's, you know,
Yeah.
there could be more.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
And on the other side of the slowness of the 99 seat, the negotiations of that is, you know, the Producers League, we're never able to meet during the day, because I'm one of the very fortunate people who have a full-time job in the theater, in that intimate theater world, but most of them are doing survival jobs, and
Sure.
the theater is their
Passion.
Their passion.
Right.
So, you know, I can't say let's meet at noon on a Tuesday for a meeting because I've got my job. So, you know.
So you're doing evening meetings.
So it's evening, and then everybody in the evening is working on their theater projects. So getting people together takes a longer time. So.
What do
know.
you think as far as the time frame on the 99 seat plan? Maybe making some revisions. Do you think that's going to happen this year?
I think it will. That's my opinion. That's all I know. But
Okay.
I think
So they've been talking about it for about
yes, they
forever.
have been. They have been. But I think that there is some movement going on now, and I think within a year there will be some changes happening.
Great.
Yeah.
From the annals of history,
Mm-hmm.
there was one incident where Equity actually did step in and remove a theater from the 99 seat plan after slews of complaints.
Good.
Finally, it was the rats running across the stage during the performance that finally triggered
Wow.
the shutdown of
Wow.
it was
Really?
a theater
Wow.
in West LA. That was in the late 1980s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back when they actually had a staff still to
Yeah.
do that, right? Yeah. I mean, Michael Van Duzer is the 99 seat plan overseer. I don't know what his exact title is, but he's also now splitting time with other duties for the union. So, you know, there's like a half a person actually overseeing all of this that is happening.
Well, you know, you have to realize too, when it was first created and what was going on in this town, then the reasons were really it was actually serving actors who, you know, there was no web series now and all the things that actors can do now. You were coming to this town, if you're not on a show, people wanted to work, and they couldn't work because there weren't enough big theaters, so they wanted to work in something small, so they could actually put. And it wasn't just showcases, you know, people would put on smaller shows, and there was all sorts of theaters that did that, and that was a way that was a very vibrant scene and reason to go. Now we've come to this side of it where, you know, we're in another era, and maybe, and to your point, needed to be revised. And another conversation we've had too is about, well, because we have so many shows, does that mean we have lesser quality shows? You know, would we have knocked out some of those shows that are underproduced or under-created, shall we say, that wouldn't be able to be put on because they'd have a higher bar to meet. In other words, to be able to have a production up. But that's another conversation.
Can I
So.
address that a little bit?
Sure.
Just
Please.
looking over the scene on 25 years, what we've seen is the number of shows, because of these real estate issues that were mentioned before, the number of productions has actually dropped significantly in the last 10 years. There's still tons of theater being done, and it's not getting covered. And I'm not saying that in any, without any kind of editorial opinion, but it is just statistically true that there are less productions. However, the subjective view on that, from a critic's view, is that perhaps because of that, the quality has actually risen, the general quality in our small theaters. It may be Darwinism, I don't know. But
Survival of the fittest, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are theaters who actually pay above and beyond what the plan calls for. There's a lot more are trying to raise that, that minimum $11 per performance, and more are providing rehearsal stipends, which is not required in the plan. So there are many trying to step up, and there's conversations about, is there a plan that will allow us to because the hardest part is going from a 99 seat plan to the next step up. That's a huge jump.
What is that, a hat contract? Is that
the hat, there are a lot of variations on, I think every mid-sized theater has their own sort of letter of agreement based on the hat or any of the other local area agreements. But it's a huge jump. And so part of the conversation is there a midpoint that you can move to make a transition from the 99 seat theater on up?
That would be nice.
So
More tiered, perhaps.
A more tiered, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're SDC, Society of Directors and Choreographers, is looking at a more tiered contract at this point, and I'm just making arrangements to have their leadership sit down with the Producers League in May to talk further about what that tiered contract can look like. Los Angeles is such a different ecology from any other city, as we know, is in the way we produce, and so they want to make it more viable on their end. The SDC is really looking at that, and same thing with USA, the United Scenic Artists, which covers the designers. We're in conversations with them as well to talk about how we can get more people onto contracts, but contracts that we can afford or move up to as we produce. So,
that would be excellent.
Yeah.
We could use some revisions, in my opinion. StageRaw.com is Stephen Lee Morris's brand new site, going up this month. In March.
Yes.
They're going to be having.
Isn't it?
It is
Yes,
March.
it is
March
March
today, yeah.
Theater reviews, theater editorials, all kinds of things on that, and people can go on and donate for that right now, right?
And no donation is too small.
Yes. We're grateful for anything you can do.
As long as it's
to help
over
us.
$1, it's got to be over $1.
$1,
Come on.
$5, $10.
Yeah.
Don't buy your latte tomorrow and donate.
Yeah.
That's right. Save
That
your
works.
Starbucks for another day.
Deborah, what are you doing these days now that LA Stage Times is no longer
I'm
being
sleeping
up?
a lot.
What are you doing these
Sleeping.
days? Yeah,
Sleeping.
Cool.
Well, I've been taking a little break. It's not been that long, and checking around other opportunities. I'm working on my own website, which will not be a review site. People have been asking me. DeborahBaerens.com. And because I've been doing this for a long time. I was a contributing writer for LA Stage, and then I was managing editor and editor-in-chief, and, it just was a long haul. And so I'm feeling like for the first time in a while where not only my inbox not slammed, but I'm not also going to every opening and everything all the time, and I'm kind of really enjoying the freedom about that, a little bit. And
Well deserved.
yeah, so I'm looking at things that are coming my way and people making suggestions and having meetings, and
She's also trying to figure out what she's going to wear as Queen of the Angels.
that's right. And those who want to be part of my court, so that's what I'm doing.
Okay. So keep an eye on DeborahBaerens.com, BEHRENS.
Thank you.
And there's going to be a lot of good stuff going up on that, I'm sure.
Hope so.
Anything else that any of the three of you would like to say in closing about Los Angeles theater?
Go see it.
Go see it. Huh?
Yeah.
Go see a show tonight.
Go see a show. Although I'm going to the ballet tonight.
Oh, are you?
Yes.
Oh, look at you,
The
darling.
Los Angeles Ballet. So
That's still art. It still counts.
still art.
It's
Yes,
a live
exactly.
performance.
It
still
I'm-
counts.
It still counts. Live
yes.
performance.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
So-
I'm going to show myself, The Music Man, Musical Theater West.
Great.
Make sure you go see Ever After, my amazing co-host's show that she's directed with Theater Palisades Youth Theater. Again, Don't Dress for Dinner is opening on April 4th. And thank you so much to the three of you for joining us.
Thank you,
Thank you for
Brad.
having
Thank
us,
you.
Brett.
Stephen Lee Morris, Michael Seal, and Deborah Behrens. I always learn so much, Van Erck, when we have theater administrators and big wigs, for lack of a better word, in Los Angeles theater on the show.
Yeah, so do
I was
I.
learning a lot.
You know, I mean, and because of this show, I took a course when I was at Long Beach City College Theater, and it taught me a little something. So that was cool.
Took a theater course. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I took a theater
All
course.
right.
Yes. You know,
We're gonna find you on stage in Los
I
Angeles
don't
one
know
of these
about
days.
all
soon.
that. That's off my bucket list. And
Out of the bucket.
yeah, my teacher, he was the I forget his name too, but he was the father for Keanu Reeves in Bill and Ted.
Oh.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, he's well known in the theater world, as I understand.
A lot of those theater people go on to do film, and they're thought of as film people, but they all
They're
start
really
in
theater
theater. It's
people.
really
Yeah.
interesting.
Really theater people.
George Clooney among them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
George
Most-
Clooney was a theater guy.
Absolutely.
Most of the
Look at
people
that.
we actually interviewed, in fact, a lot of celebrities, they really open up and talk a lot more when you're talking about their theater life.
Yeah.
Because really,
bet.
it's completely, that is absolutely who they are. And the rest of this is all great and they love it. But brother, can they talk their Shakespeare, their, fill in the blank playwright and things they did in little holes in the wall in New York or here or whatever. That's, yeah.
'Cause that's where the joy comes from, I think,
Truly.
the joy of acting. You don't get that kind of joy on a film set where you're doing takes over and over again. It's that live
Oh,
audience
yeah.
interaction.
I know. I was just talking to Bart DiLorenzo, and he was saying that Megan Mullally, they've been doing their shows over at the Odyssey, and she keeps saying the last one they did was Annapurna, which is going to New York. That she just loves these little. She loves that. It's her favorite time. Always is doing those shows. The rest of it helps pay for those shows, but yeah,
Absolutely.
right.
Well, thank you again. StageRaw.com. Make sure you go on there, donate, check it out. It's going to be a great site that's going up in response to some of the theater coverage that's going away in Los Angeles. Stage Raw is coming in and saving the day in a sense. Next week, we are going to be having Janae Bachman of ABC Family's Baby Daddy and Nick and Meredith Hoffa, actors, on the show, so we can't wait to speak with them. We'll have Dorothy Dillingham Blue back and break a leg to her on the rest of her run of Ever After the Musical, Theater Palisades. If you want to find information about us, you can go to facebook.com/LaLaLandTalk, Twitter at twitter.com/LaLaLandTalk. You can send us an email at lalalandtalk@gmail.com. And we'll see you next week. I'm Brett Chapin. This is La La Land Talk on LA Talk Live, and we'll see you at the top.
Bye.